So I broke my tripod the other day, so that was fun. Which means I'm currently coming to you from the plant room where I have a TV stand that I use to hold plants that I figured would be high enough to use as a makeshift tripod that is going to wiggle like crazy because Molly is super fascinated by the camera and is currently climbing on it and sniffing around at it. So you might even hear some loud cat sniffs. So that is what's going on today. Would you please stop? But would you stop though? Get out of there. None of that is the point, because today we're going to be talking about my thoughts on Death Prefers Blondes by Caleb Roehrig. I should really look things up before I start recording. I feel like I've been talking about this one for a while because it was pretty anticipated once I found out about it. It is a heist novel, which I love a good heist. That should definitely be on the list of buzzwords. Not only is it a heist novel, it's a heist novel starring a gang of drag queens, which I think is just genius. I am talking about it as part of the blog tour, but all of my thoughts and opinions are my own and no way influenced by that. And all of the info about the book, the synopsis and links and all that will be in the description, so you can find out all of that there. I don't think you really need to know more than that it's a heist novel starring drag queens. I'm going to do my best to avoid spoilers, but I'm going to get straight into my thoughts, which are by and large mostly very positive. I did have some drawbacks and I will kind of talk about that, but I mean, I went into it expecting to enjoy it and I did. I felt like it had a lot of personality. I would expect that with a book about drag queens, and it did live up to that. It also had a lot of warmth and a lot of heart. There were great interpersonal relationships. I think that it has enough of the caper vibe to kind of draw that crowd in, but it also has enough of the butterfly-inducing romance and kind of friend and family feels that I think it will also hit those notes for a lot of readers. So I think it's working on a lot of levels, which is good. Speaking of the romance, and at the same time the representation in the entire book, there's a lot of sort of diverse romance, I guess. It's a diverse cast of characters done in kind of the best way. I've talked about this recently and it's really kind of difficult to talk about because it's difficult to pin down when something's done right versus when it's done wrong. I mean, I guess that's subjective, but sometimes when there is a multitudinous diverse cast, it can feel like someone's got a checklist, you know, like they're trying to like hit every diverse bullet point that they can, and it starts to feel almost exploitative. I've talked about that in the past, and I always kind of feel like an ass when I say something like that, but there are times when it doesn't feel like the characters are written to suit the story, but like they are written to, I don't want to say meet a quota, but almost. They don't feel authentic, they don't feel organic to the story or like they really fit, but like they are just, you know, like it'd be really great if we worked in a character who was fill in the blank. And it can kind of feel shoehorned in, or like it's trying to capitalize on sort of a diverse trend, and that to me feels exploitative. This feels really, really natural. All of these characters, there are, you know, characters of different genders beyond just male or female. There are characters of many races, there are characters of many ethnicities and religions, there are characters who are gay, straight, bi. I mean, it just kind of, it spans the gamut without ever feeling like someone is trying to kind of write by numbers to fill in those roles, to cast those roles. It just feels like this group of people who have found each other, and it feels very organic and natural, which I really appreciate in something. Even beyond that, these characters were believable for who they were. You know, I bought them as characters. They never felt like they were being written to a stereotype. So for that, I really praise the book. Expanding on that, the romances kind of involved within, again, felt very natural, very organic. They would kind of crop up just as they were, you know. Again, it didn't feel shoehorned in. It didn't feel like someone was trying to hit certain bullet points. It felt like any other story out there, which is what it should feel like, you know? A diverse story should still feel like a story, and all stories, I think, should be diverse. So to get something that feels natural and like everything is suited, everything has its place, I mean, it's just good writing, you know? And the romances were sweet and fraught with normal romance problems and butterflies and what I'm gonna say is age-appropriate sexuality for a later teen audience. I wouldn't say that this is ideal for a younger teen or tween audience. Maybe use your own discretion if you're buying it for your kid. Read it and discuss it with them. I think it would probably push a little bit of, you know, buttons for a younger teen or tween audience, or, you know, probably a conservative audience. Though to be fair, I think probably any mention of sexuality or drag queens, for that matter, would scare off that super conservative audience. I mean, there's talk of erections and masturbation and tucking and, you know, anything that you would kind of imagine would go along. There's lots of like climbing into laps and pulling clothes off, and I don't think it ever gets gratuitous, but it's definitely more geared for, you know, an older teen audience. Similarly, it's not sanitized. So there are issues and there are bad things that happen, and it's not candy coated, but it's also not gratuitous, and you don't have, it's not a torture book, you know? You get so many, especially gay stories and minority stories, that can be so tortured. Like, these characters are really put through the ringer, and these characters do go through some things and are facing some really horrific things, but there's still positivity and playfulness. It doesn't feel like torture porn, which I think is very much needed in especially teen books, but in the We Need Diverse Books movement and sort of gay and minority books in general. Sometimes it's nice to have some fluff mixed in there, you know? LGBT kids and POC kids, they need to see some like fun flirty stuff too, not just horrors. So though it does have some darker elements, and it has some, you know, some impactful things that are going on, it doesn't fall into those sort of traps of being just torturous. And I also found it really engaging. I found the characters engaging, and the banter was really nice. So all of those positives. I did have a few negatives, and I think that they are quasi-negatives. I think part of them are really dependent on my mood right now. This is one of those books where, for whatever reason, even though I was always really enjoying it whenever I pick it up, the minute I would put it down, I didn't feel compelled to pick it up again. You know, it wasn't like calling to me. I found myself seeking out other things to read, which can sometimes just be a sign of my mood and a bit of ooh shiny syndrome, but also it can just mean that there's a disconnect somewhere, that something's not working for me, and that's why it's not pushing me to devour it. And there were other books that I picked up while I was not picking this one up that did kind of compel me to finish them. So I don't think it was entirely dependent on my mood. I think there was something there that was just holding me back a little bit. The other thing, and maybe the thing that was causing a little bit of the disconnect, Molly is rubbing her face against the TV tray. So I'm sorry for any shaking. Molly, come on, man. Don't do it. Just don't do it. As I was saying, the other thing that was a little bit of a drawback for me and maybe was causing some of the disconnect is a layer of believability. Now, obviously, with a story of teen drag queen cat burglars, there was gonna need to be some serious willing suspension of disbelief. I knew that going in, and I was ready for a fun heist caper thing. My real issue lies in the execution of it. So if you're gonna have a character who is famous, you know, a pretty little blonde Hollywood socialite who is going to be in disguise so that she can pull off these massive heists, probably the disguise shouldn't be a blonde wig over her blonde hair. I don't think shades of blonde is going to be enough to keep people from recognizing someone who's on the tabloids all the time. Maybe that's just me. And the other thing is, if you're going to have a group of teenage boy drag queens, I think the idea of them being spotted as, you know, women who are committing heists, and then they're not under suspicion because, you know, in their everyday life they're not dressed as women. Smart. But if you're going to have them dressing in drag, maybe it shouldn't be the exact same drag as their normal standard characters that they don for drag shows, popular drag shows, all the time, you know? Like, I wouldn't expect RuPaul to dress up as RuPaul to do a heist. Like, probably gonna go for a totally different look would make the most sense. So then there was this kind of layer of like, this is really poor decision making on their part, and if they're making these decisions at the base of it, they're probably making some stupid decisions as they go along that would get them caught, that would definitely get them caught. It just made it a little harder to buy in, I guess. Molly really wants to say hi to you guys. Oh my gosh, Molly. Why are you so mad though? Have you guys ever met Molly? This is Molly. She's a little bitch. Again, willing suspicion of disbelief. I am suspicious of this. A willing suspension of disbelief is kind of one of those make it or break it things for me. I'm willing to go with you, but if you keep giving me major questions or plot holes, I'm going to stop going along with you. Not everyone is like that. I think a lot of people will just take it at face value, will find it very fun, and won't be like, wait a minute, why are you dressing up as Anita Stiff One for your heists, but also for like your normal, regularly attended, massively popular drag show? That's a really bad idea to do something super distinctive when you're gonna go commit a crime. But those were my only two real drawbacks, other than also, it did feel a little bit long. I feel like there was a lot going on in it. That might have been part of why I kind of was drifting out of it a little bit. But those are my kind of drawbacks. I don't think that they in any way would keep me from recommending the book or from thinking that other people would love it. It was just some things to kind of note going in. I did have some small issues connecting or believing, but when I would pick it up, I would enjoy it and find it very fun and found it very cute and romanceful and capery, and that was nice. That was what I was hoping to get from it. So those are my kind of general thoughts on Death Prefers Blondes. As I mentioned, I'm part of the blog tour, so I will link to the other stops on the blog tour below so you can find out what other people thought of it. That is all for this video. If you'd like to see my thoughts on any other books, let me know that in the comments as well. And if you have recommendations of things that you'd like me to read, I am kind of changing up how I'm choosing books this year, so I am taking all input and advice and recommendations and book pushing. So let me know that in the comments too, but that is all for now. Thank you guys for watching, and of course, happy reading. Future Misty from like 5 minutes later. Also, why are they getting such little money for priceless art? You're getting screwed over, girl. Someone's robbing you blind. This is not get a new fence. This isn't right. This isn't right.
Oh, pretty girl. Oh, pretty girl. Did you find catnip? Did you find catnip in this room somewhere? I think so. I think so. Say bye, pretty girl. Say bye, pretty girl. Say bye.